Alors, this is a short presentation on the subject of what I call the accelerating production of unequal space, and it's an for Greater Cairo, and it's an update. I'm not trying to cover more than a sort of spatial update, spatial and demographic update. So this is the blurb about it, and it just mentions that Cairo has had huge extensions and sprawl in its desert hinterland, and this process, which is based on the conversion of public or state-owned land into new urban territories by important state actors, and those are mostly the Ministry of Housing, NUCA, and the Army, and some others, received a tremendous boost with the launching of the new administrative capital in 2015. But what is less well known are other penetrations into the desert that began in parallel, and there are hints of even more. It seems that the speculative conversion process is accelerating, even although almost no one lives in these new territories, nor are they likely to absorb even a small fraction of the population of the increasing population of the metropolis. And they continue to crowd into Cairo proper. So here we go. You all know the geography of Cairo, and there's a big desert to the east and a big desert to the west. Some of it is difficult topography, but most of it is quite flat and is quite easily exploited. So the new towns are, the first decree was, as you can see, as follows. There are 8 new towns in Cairo. Here, what happened? There's one missing here. Okay, 10th of Ramadan, 6th of October, 15th of May, Elubur, Shuruk, New Cairo, Badr, and guess what? I forgot Sheikh Zayed. That's okay. So there are 8. And you can see they were established between 1977 and 1996. Okay? But that doesn't mean they started then. For example, Al-Badr was actually proclaimed in 1982, but didn't start until 1996. And you must note that these new towns have experienced many physical extensions to them. And these are also by presidential decree. So 6th of October is the biggest, has had at least 10 extensions. And they also converted their green belt. Sheikh Zayed has had 1, El Ubur 4, New Cairo at least 3 that I can uncover. 15th of May has had 4 extensions plus extensive cemeteries. I'm not sure whether they belong to Cairo Governorate or not. And then 10th of Ramadan has had at least 1, probably more, and they converted their green belt. And El Badr, although the most recent, has had already at least 4 extensions. It's important to look at this slide because it shows that very slow growth of these new towns, nowhere near what they expected, and even a slower absorption of the growing population of Greater Cairo. So you can see here the population of all the new towns. It was 0 in 1976, 33,086, 15,096, and 60,000, 600,000, 149,096, 601,000 in 2006, and according to the 2017 census, it has reached 1.6 million. At the same time, Greater Cairo has been growing at least in population terms, at very impressive rates. So it went from 8 million about in 1976 until 2017, 21.2 million. The most important is the column over on the right, and it's easy to calculate what percentage of the additional population in any 10-year census period was absorbed by the new towns. By 1986, the new towns that absorbed less than 4% of the population increase of Greater Cairo. And then in 96, it was 5.2%. It became quite much higher at almost 15% of the population increase was absorbed by the new towns between 1996 and 2006. And between 2006 and 2017, this absorption was about the same at 14%, actually a little less. In 2017, the new towns represented only 7.7% of the population of Greater Cairo. The source for these numbers are the census of Capmas. However, NUCA population estimates and targets for the 8 new towns around Cairo are completely different. The numbers vary, but usually in 2017 or to 2019, NUCA is the New Urban Communities Authority, in case you don't know, estimated a population of almost 7 million in the 8 new towns. Now, this is compared to the census of 1.28 million, or 4 times higher. This is because they say they calculate the population by the number of water connections or electricity connections and then multiply by the average family size of 4. So obviously there's a problem. Even more, the target population, according to NUCA, is, and the targets are to be met between 2022 and 2030, of 14.5 million, which is quite a lot. Now, these sources can all be found at the NUCA website in Arabic. It is important to summarize the new features of towns around Cairo. The building and planning standards are very high, and low density, sprawl, and patchy development is very common. Private housing, that is all housing built by individuals or by real estate firms, is only affordable by the upper middle class and rich, and that includes expatriate Egyptians in the Gulf. There has been a tremendous speculative investment, which is demonstrated by the amount of empty housing units, at least 60 to 80%, and this is census figures. There have been many attempts at affordable social housing, including most recently the Social Housing Fund, but these are creating quite, in most cases, especially the Social Housing Fund, quite remote monoform housing estates that have very few inhabitants so far. Mobility in the new towns, or to the new towns and within the new towns, is exclusively by private car or minibus. There are projects for monorails, light rail, and metros, but none of these, the electric rail to the new capital is under construction, and the monorail is almost under construction. But until now, and there are a few bus lines, but until now, private car dominates all mobility. There are a few tuk-tuks. It is important to know that the landscape is dominated by inward-oriented gated communities with walls everywhere. The new towns, especially New Cairo, Sheikh Zayed, and 6th of October, have been very successful with commercial office and services. But there is little street life, no functioning public spaces, except for malls, private malls, and private shopping centers. So here's the an image of the new towns, these 8 new towns, and NUCA boundaries. I might point out, I have added here New Heliopolis and here Medinat al-Mustaqbal, which are nominally part of New Cairo or separate. Anyway, that's the picture. And as you can see, the black is the built-up area of Greater Cairo, including industrial and commercial and everything. And as you can see, there's quite a unbalance in spatial area, and we'll see it here. Right, in 2018, the east side new towns covered 777 square kilometers, the west side new towns 865 square kilometers. The new administrative capital, just call it NAC, its phase 1 alone was 184 square kilometers, and its phase 2, which has not started yet, is 530 square kilometers. So total desert urban areas of Greater Cairo is 2,356 square kilometers. Cairo proper is being optimistic, 600 square kilometers, including peri-urban villages. So, and of this, I've estimated that formal Cairo covers 410 square kilometers and informal Cairo 190 square kilometers. Therefore, desert Cairo was almost 4 times the size of Cairo proper, and this is in 2018, but with only 1/10 of the population. Are there new desert extensions in the pipeline? Well, there are further, usually quite remote areas around Cairo that appear to be targeted for future development. Various major highways have been or are being constructed, at least partly for this purpose. Now, the regional ring road was completed in 2018, and its main function is to shuffle traffic away from the center of the city. But it also traverses on its 365 kilometers length quite a lot of virgin desert territory. Then there's the middle ring road. By now it's mostly completed. And then there's the new Port Said Highway, also mostly completed. Plus, you can see on Google Earth various offshoot highways and loops from these 3 main roads, which are under construction. Some are finished. So here we go. The main ring roads and highways. Here is the blue is the regional ring road. Red is the middle ring road. Dairi al-Wasiti. And then green is the old ring road. So you can see these really cover a large area, and they serve mostly the new towns or the new capital. And I might point out that the whole logic of the original ring road, which was designed by GOPP with French technical assistance in the early 80s, was designed mainly to serve new towns and to enable rapid access to them. I have included here the most recent modification of the old ring road. It now, and as you can see, it now, it now passes through the Pyramids Plateau and Saqqara area, and that was the original plan. And just this year, it has been reopened, or is being reopened, to serve mainly 6th of October and the other side. So this is my own interpretation of what might happen because of these penetrating highways on flat desert land. And as you can see, these are existing 4-lane highways with interchanges. Here's another one. There's more down here, which seem to be plan specifically to open up these areas for some kind of development. There are also, so here's where I feel is the greatest interest in various areas. For example, here is Dashur, is bisected, the plateau is bisected by the middle ring road, and it had been a military camp and completely off limits, but it's in a strategic position, so I think this one's going to go. And this is south of Khamastashar Mayo and south and east of Helwan, and so it should probably, you can probably see some future development along it, well served on the regional ring road. And here's an area, the last area in the sort of northeast quadrant of Cairo, which is still vacant. And then finally these two areas, which are quite large. And here is the regional, the road from the new road from Port Said, which is finished almost, and it's penetrating highways, which are also finished. So, what does this show? Well, it shows what I think is an unstoppable momentum and interest in the new towns, in the desert, in desert as potential. What I've shown may not all be converted to urban uses, but there seems to be an ever-increasing interest in such far-flung virgin lands, especially if they're flat, on the part of the government and certain private interests. Even if only some of these lands are exploited, they will add exponentially to Greater Cairo's already immense and scattered sprawl. If these new towns were actually developing as intended, it wouldn't be so bad. But they are all still underpopulated and exhibit lots of empty, stalled, and otherwise unused blocks which remain unused. This underscores the unstoppable momentum driven by the commodification of Greater Cairo's desert hinterland, and behind this speculative real estate development. Especially with the new capital, it seems that the government has a unified policy that they can not only develop more land, but can finance at least part of it by land sales, and on the part of real estate companies that they can continue to build and sell units, whether residential or other, which means that the production of unequal space in Greater Cairo, which already is quite impressive, will continue and probably accelerate. Thanks very much.